Buddy, how you doing, Ed? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to switch over to the other computer, and we're going to get going. Ed? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Oh, I forgot to turn the sound off. Sorry about that. All right, sound's off. Oh, Chris, I appreciate it. Thank you. And Lon, you also. Oh, Chris, I'm happy to help you out. I'm glad that everything went well for you. Lon, good to see you there. Hope you're doing okay. Who else we have in here? All right. Oh, my buddy from down in Texas is not here yet. Usually he's first in. All right. So where's everybody coming from tonight? Now I know where you're from. Lon, I know where you're from. Chris, I'm not sure exactly where you were from. Hayward's here. Hey, Hayward, how you doing today? Good to see you. Hope everything is going well for you. It's Miller time. You're right, Lon. Right after this is finished, I'm going to go have a beer or two. All right. New Orleans. Okay. Malta, New York. Who's that? I'm thinking I know who it is, but I'm not positive. If you can hear me, let me know if it really is you. Charlotte, North Carolina, California. Chris, you're in Cali, huh? Hope you know where's near where those fires are going on out there. I was watching that on the news. It's been really, really horrible out there. I think it's in Northern California where the fires are, from what I saw. But it's horrible how people are losing everything. All right, good to see you from Malta. I know who you are now. Yes, there's not many people that you get from Malta. All right, Chicago, California, Oklahoma. Oof, Oklahoma. It's got to be hot out there now, right? Who else we got? Florida. We got Florida here. Who else we got? I know MG63. I know you're a Jersey man. All right, I just want to warn you guys. Don't be freaking out on me, but next week I may not be here on Sunday. I'm going to let you know during the week if I'm going to be here or not. I might not be. I'm going to be actually off next week. I'm going to be doing a couple of things. I got a couple of things planned. I'm not going to say anything, but hopefully I'm going to have maybe I have a video where I'll be able to show you where I'm going to go. Hopefully, I'm not going to promise, but we'll see how it goes. I might put something up there. So we'll see how that goes. What else we got to see? A bunch of other stuff popping up on here. All right. Honda Civic. Okay, we have Canada, Alberta, Canada. I got a buddy of mine up in Canada, Steve Robb. I know Canada's a big place, but he's one of my buddies up there. Okay, Stanley, hang on 1 second. I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. Okay, somebody else from Florida. All right, I got people from all over the place. Atlanta, Georgia. Ooh, that's hot down there. Kearney, Georgia again. Stanley, you're from Georgia. My buddy says, this is an MG63. I have no life. So even if you're not on next week, I would just sit here and stare at my blank screen. Well, now you make me feel bad. Now I'm going to have to come on. All right, Haywood. George is in the house. Okay. All right, let's go back. I want to just see one thing. Stanley says, or asks, I should say, Jim, when changing a distributor, can you mess up the timing? If the distributor can only go in one way, it's a 97. Actually, that distributor probably can go in more than one way. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be either 180 out or it's going to be exactly in. So that one is really hard to mess it up. Because if it's the one I'm thinking of and I'd have to look it up on the computer to be able to tell, one of them, when it goes in, there is no adjustment on it. There's a small little notch cut out of the distributor, and it fits into a little pin that sticks up to the top, so it has to go into one location, and the computer is what adjusts the timing. But if you look down on the bottom of the distributor, is there a slot cut in the distributor, like a little U that would actually fit on something like a pin that sticks up like that, so it can only go on one direction? If that's the case, then the computer will adjust the timing. Okay, let's see what we got else going on here. Chris says watch reruns. That's right. We got 21 weeks of videos backed up back there. Yeah. All right. About next week. I may not be here next week, but I'll let you know during the week if I'm going to be here or not. I do have a couple things planned. I'm going to take some pictures if I have a chance, and I'm going to see if my helper, who's going to be with me, can take a little bit of footage of what's going on as well. I do have a road trip planned, and I hopefully we'll be able to get some footage of that. I'm going to be meeting up with a couple of people that you guys may know, and maybe we'll be able to put something up on here at the next week's video, next week's cast, if I do it. If not next week, then possibly the week after that. And I might wind up for the month of August. I'm debating about whether I'm going to come on. I may do every other day or every other week, I should say, because August, as you know, everybody's pretty much away on vacations. As I'm looking at it right now, we don't have a heck of a lot of people in here tonight. We only have a couple of people here, so I got a feeling that a lot of people are away on vacation, and including myself. Next week I'll be doing something. So, all right, a couple of things we're going to talk about tonight. We don't have a lot lined up. I did get something sent to me. I actually had a couple of things sent to me during the week. Three of the things I'm not even going to show you because you've seen them probably 20 times on my show already. I've gotten lights from different companies that just send them to me. But we're not even going to go into them. And these are car lights. But I do have one company that actually sent me something which I'm probably going to wind up setting up, and I'm going to see how bright it actually is. But we'll see how it goes. And this is the product that was sent to me. This is give me 1 second. Let me just click on this here. Okay, this is the light. This is actually a light that goes outside of your house. This is all of the information about the light itself. And basically what it is, it's a light that you would have outside your house, so that when you approach your driveway, you approach an alleyway, you approach your backyard, it's got an indicator on it that picks up movement, a motion detector, and it'll turn on so that the light is actually on when you're when needed as you're coming into a dark area. This is the company here that actually sent it to me. I haven't ever dealt with them before, but I probably will put this light up. I may even put it up. I don't know if I'm going to do it at the shop or I'm going to do it here at home. I'll probably do it here at home because, as you know, white is not such a good color to have in the shop. This, as you know, this is the eye that actually senses movement. There should be some kind of an adjustment down underneath the bottom here, which it does have the adjustment, distance, and then as well as how long you want the light to stay on. So basically what it is, once you mount this someplace, actually this one is a little bit different than most of the lights I've seen. Okay, this just mounts a little bit differently. I've seen them in the back where they mount a little bit differently, but this one mounts right through here, through the center right here. I'm assuming that the pieces are going to be in here, which they are. This is everything that you're going to need to mount it. This, when you take out your existing fixture, this bar would actually be connected up on the rectangular box that's in there, and then you would have your screw through the center of it right here that would actually go through here and mount it up onto the light, to the outlet itself. I know I've done quite a few of these before. Never the LEDs. They've always been the conventional light bulbs with the screw-in floodlights on it. But these are adjustable. It looks like they can be swiveled, whatever direction you need them. If you need them turned out, you turn them where you want them. And I think you can even rotate them if you want to have them face in different directions. They rotate left and right as well. And like I said, the sensor, you can turn the sensor, and this way you could pick it up for a certain distance to the left, to the right, and straight down. So you can actually set it so that the eye is actually, seeing whatever is actually moving to it. I may put this up here at home. We'll see how it goes. If I do put it up at home, I will let you know about it. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I will put a link. I will put it up on a video so that you actually see maybe the installation of it. This is the directions that comes with it. I didn't look at it, but I'm sure it's pretty clean cut. So it shouldn't really be a big deal to put it up. It looks like it's fairly easy, but I will tell you this. It says, of course, it's 120 volts, so it's regular household current. It's 18 watts, which I did see. Give me 1 second. Let me just go back over here. Don't go nowhere. I'm going over to my documents. Okay, it says this is exactly what they wrote to me. The main features of this security light: it's high brightness and low consumption, 18 watt, equivalent to 150 watt in brightness on regular conventional bulbs. The sensitive motion detector on, auto, and off, so you can adjust that. Long life. It says it lasts 50,000 hours. And the high heat dissipation. It patented ceramic heat dissipation technology, so it doesn't really build up a lot of heat, supposedly. But I will tell you this though: when you have those floodlights up there, those floodlights put off a tremendous amount of heat. The LEDs will put out a lot less heat than you will get from a regular floodlight. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Then we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about, everybody knows this is the summertime. This is the summer, and a lot of people are going to be going places on vacation. We're going to talk about vacations and some of the things that we've done on vacation. Myself, that I've done. I'm sorry, I'm just going through the Big Dog 5001. Oh, Wyatt's in the house too. Hey, Wyatt, good to see you in here. I'm going to see you in a couple of days. I will, Wyatt, I will give you a call, and Mike as well. I think Mike was in here too. Yep, Mike is here also. Mike and Wyatt, I'll give you a call when I'm on the way up and give you the heads up to let you know when I'm going to be there. As you know, Wednesday won't work, but I definitely will be there Thursday. But hopefully I'll have some good stories to tell you guys when I get there about what went on Wednesday, but we'll see. Hopefully it does. Okay. I'm gonna see. I'm just reading through real. Big Dog. Okay. Okay. Looks like you guys are just talking back and forth to each other, so I am gonna. All right, we're going to go. Vinny, you know what? I'm going to give you a call. Actually, you know what, Vinny? If it's okay with you, let me know. I'm going to call you tonight after the show is over. Congratulations. I see you're retiring on the 31st. So very good. Let me see what Vinny says. Is it even better to pay to have an exhaust put on instead of doing it yourself? My Miata needs a cat back. Vinny, I know that Miata, we talked about that. I think that Miata is pretty rusty underneath there. But if you want to take a picture of what it looks like and send it to me, I can take a look at it and see. I don't think you're going to have a big problem. From what I'm remembering from the cat back, I don't know if that cat is actually bolted on or it's a flange type thing on there. So if you could take a picture of what it looks like underneath, or you know what, Vinny, I'll call you later and we'll talk a little bit further about that. Now from what I remember, Vinny, I think you're in upstate, not upstate. Yeah, that's right. You're in New York someplace. I remember that now. Sydney, good to see you in here. Okay, my buddy Nat's here. Wyeth. Keith, good to see you in here as well. Hope everything is doing okay. I hope everything is going good with you guys anyway. It'd be good, Keith, if you can. It'd be a good thing for sure. Okay, in the middle of things. Okay, all right. We're gonna leave. You guys are talking back and forth over there, so we're just gonna give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. We're going to talk about a couple things there. We're going to talk, like I said, everybody knows it's the summertime. In the summertime, a lot of people are on vacation. But anybody from New Jersey, do you remember some of these places here? And this is MG63. This one is being directed to you. Does anybody remember the name of the amusement park that used to be in Bayonne, all the way down the end of Bayonne, all the way down by Keats territory, over towards close to the Bayonne Bridge, where it goes over to Staten Island? Does anybody remember the name of that place? Greg, good to see you here as well. Okay, there was when I was very young. Now everybody knows I grew up in Jersey City, but in Jersey City there really wasn't much of anything to do. You had a couple of places around. You had, and a lot of you people probably know this as well. There used to be a place called Palisades Park. Everyone, Vinny, you're right. Uncle Milty's. That's right. Now Vinny's cheating because Vinny lives in Bayonne, so he knows because he's been there. And McGee 63 from Jersey City, I know, so you know where it is as well. But when I was a kid, growing up in the Heights in Jersey City, there was only a couple places around. One of them was Palisades Park, which was further north of all places. It was in Palisades Park, and that was the name of the place. And it was up there. It was all amusements. I remember going there as a kid, and they had the Ferris wheels. They had the typical games that you would find down at the shore. The games of chance where you could win different things. You could have those machines with the cranes that come down and pick up the toys, or I remember in particular, it used to pick up big handfuls of candy and drop it down to any kid. Their eyes would be bugging out of their head because they would actually see all the candy being dropped down into the thing where they would win it. But Palisades Park, that actually closed down a long time ago up there. But I remember as a kid. Now a lot of you people don't know, but Palisades Park was actually in Palisades Park, but it was up on the Palisades. So if you were on by the say the George Washington Bridge and you were to look up, it's a fairly steep cliff going up there. I remember as a kid being down there riding on my bicycle along a road down there, which was right on the Hudson River, and you could look up and you could see Palisades Park on the top of the Palisades up there. That's long gone now. That place has been taken down, and I think they put up like high-rise buildings there as well. MG63 says the Roosevelt Stadium, they had their annual carnival down there. Now, and a lot of you guys don't remember this. They used to have Palisades Park. They had Uncle Milty's. Uncle Milty's was all the way down the very furthest point of Bayonne, and it was on the river that goes through there underneath the Bayonne Bridge. And you used to be able to go down there, and the same thing. You had all those games that you could play, typical games that you had down the shore. But back then, people didn't drive all the way down the shore. They used to just go to the different places that were close in Bayonne, or Palisades Park, or whatever. They also had a place in Jersey City, and my buddy MG63 points out it was Roosevelt Stadium down there. and that was right on the Newark Bay, where it actually backed up to the Newark Bay, where they actually had a marina back in there, where they used to have boats. They used to have a restaurant back in there. It was I think it was a seafood restaurant, if I'm not mistaken. But as a kid, I remember going down there, and they used to have all of the events out there in the parking lots. They would even have inside the stadium itself. They used to have concerts in there. They used to also have the what you call it. I remember one time it was a guy on a motorcycle, drove his motorcycle from the ground up to the top of the stadium on a wire. So they used to have a lot of things back then. Now you don't see stuff like that. The stadium is long gone, and they put in housing development down there. Palisades Park is gone. That's a housing development. That other place, Uncle Milty's, I told you about. That's right. It was called the Captain's Table. That's right. Wow, you must be a long-time Jersey City guy. I know you are. Yeah, even in Bayonne, Uncle Milty's at one point that had gone on fire and it burned down. And instead of rebuilding it, they actually knocked it down. They filled the land in over there, and they actually turned it into a fairly decent park along there. Let's see, Freddie Boom Boom Cannon sang the song Palisades Park, written by Chuck Berry. That's right. That's right. He did it. That's going back a long time ago, but that's true. Well, you're just a wealth of knowledge of Jersey City and that location around there anyway. But that's some of the stuff they used to have years ago. Now you don't have much of anything like that anymore. If you want to do something like that, you got to hop in your car and drive down the shore. And as you know, sometimes getting down the shore on the weekend, especially in New Jersey, is a little bit of a hassle getting down there because you hit a lot of traffic. And then when you get there, try to park your vehicle someplace, and it's a little bit difficult to park. But well worth the trip, though, wherever you go. I'm going to tell you this. You probably remember doing this stuff to yourself when you were a kid. But the other day I was down South Jersey. I was just watching these people on this one area, and they were fishing and crabbing and stuff, and it brought back a lot of memories of what we used to do as a kid, and maybe some of you guys did this as well. We used to go crabbing. I lived in Jersey City. We used to go to Bayonne Park, and we used to do crabbing down in the Bayonne Park, where you throw your crab nets into the water and you would catch crabs. And it brought back a lot of memories seeing these kids doing this down the shore. They actually had, of all things, you take a chicken leg raw, you tie the chicken leg onto a rope, and you throw it out in the water. It sinks down to the bottom, and you leave it down on the bottom. You tie it off on the pier, and you come back to it in about 10, 15 minutes. And when you go back to the string, you pull it up, and as you're pulling up the chicken leg on the string, you have to pull it up very, very slow. And as you're pulling it up, you can feel on your string, you can feel movement on there. And as you pull it up, so your assistant has to have a scoop net, and he would get it up till it's almost up to the top of the water, and you'd have to scoop the crab up before he realized he was up and out of the water, and he would jump off. But that was always a lot of fun, crabbing and catching the crabs like that, because it was a competition between you and the crab, trying to get him up without him realizing he was up and out of the water. Sorry, let me just go. Okay, this. Okay. All right, but that's a lot of fun, because that's a real competition. But I saw one guy, he must have pulled out a crab. It had to be probably, I'm not even sure, maybe 8-10 inches from tip to tip, and that's a fairly large crab. I know down here there was somebody was telling me you have to have at least a 4.5 inch. I think they said it has to be at least 4.5 inches in length before you can keep it. I don't keep them. I was just curious what they were doing, But it was always interesting. A lot of other things you can do in Jersey too that a lot of people from different parts of the country may not realize is that there's a lot of state parks that you can go to, and different programs you can do in the state parks, and not only different programs, but when my children were younger, we used to go camping all the time. In the summertime, we would go probably a couple of times during the summer, we would go up to High Point, New Jersey, and we would camp out up in one of the state parks up there. And you go up there into these state parks, and of course, you have to check in with your ranger, and you get your assigned campsite or whatever, and you would drive down this long, windy road. So you were fairly far off of any kind of highways or anything. So when you were in there camping, you didn't hear no cars, you didn't hear anything except the nature and anything like the frogs or even the cicadas or anything like that. There was plenty of plenty of nature. And when we used to camp out, it used to be right on the lake. I mean, we set up our tents, and 10 feet down would be the lake. So, my kids would be able to go down there and go fishing, and we'd go fishing, we'd go hiking. It was just a great time. And of course, you had your big fire pit that you would set up your fire in, and you would actually cook your chicken, your hot dogs, or hamburgers, or whatever you wanted. You cook it on there. We used to take corn inside the husk, and still in the husk, and you don't take it out of what you do is take a bag, and you would throw the corn into the bag, and you let it sit inside the bag for maybe a half an hour or so it would soak up a lot of water. And during that time, you got in your fire, going, and you can't cook. Anybody who knows about campfires, you can't cook on a blazing fire. If you have a blazing fire, whatever you're cooking is going to be burnt to a cinder on the outside, and it's going to be raw on the inside. So you can't cook on a blazing fire. You have to get the fire going. Once that fire gets going and it flattens down, and you knock it down a little bit, you'll have just the coals. So you'll have the heat coming up from the coals, which you're really cooking on. And what we used to do is we used to go up there and get our big campfire going. And, you take a potato and you would wrap it up in aluminum foil. And after you knock the flame down, you would just take the potato and put it inside the fire ring right in the coals. And you would leave it just sit inside the coals. You would take the corn after it sat for about a half an hour, so it absorbs all the water, and you would lay it up on top of these grills that were up there, and they would actually, it would steam inside its own husk, because the water inside there would just turn to steam, and that's how it would cook. We used to cook everything on the fire, hamburgers, hot dogs. I remember with the kids, we used to, Mrs. Jimthecarguy had gotten these things for the kids, and it was you needed a stick, and you put it onto a stick, and when you looked at it, it looked like a pitchfork, like two little prongs sticking out that went sideways like that. And what it basically was is it was something that you could squeeze together, stick a hot dog on it. It was spring loaded, so it would actually pull open, so you could actually put the hot dog over the fire, and you could roast it over the top of the fire without it falling off and going into the fire and burning up. But yeah, we used to do all that all the time, and my kids used to love that. I remember one time we were actually going, and I'm sure my children are watching this now, and they'll remember this too. Is we were up there one time, and we used to do a lot of hiking. And if anybody knows about High Point State Park, they have a lot of hiking trails up in there. So what you would do is you would get out your map, and you'd look on your map, and you'd see what trail you're going to hike. And I remember the Appalachian Trail, I think it was, whatever the markings were for the Appalachian Trail, we had to go up the Blue Dot Trail. It used to lead up the mountain to the top where the Appalachian Trail was. The Appalachian Trail in High Point runs right on the ridge, right on the top of the mountain. So what we would do is we would hike up this path to get up there. And the path was fairly steep because you're climbing up a mountain and you're zigzagging back and forth going up there. And I remember going up there one time, and I remember we were hiking up there. My one daughter leaned on the tree, and she said, "Dad, this tree is furry." And it wasn't that the tree was furry. There was like thousands and thousands of caterpillars all over this one tree. So it did look like it was a furry tree, but it was actually caterpillars all over the tree. But we hike up there, and we get up to this one area it's right on the top of the Blue Dot Trail, and it's fairly steep going up there. But we get up there, and when you sit up on, now I'm going to back up a little bit. My one daughter had broken her arm, and this is to show you how my kids used to love going camping. And my daughter had broken her arm, and we were debating about whether she was going to come on the trip or not, because it's pretty strenuous, and broken arm, it's a little bit rough. But I will tell you this: she hiked up this Blue Dot Trail all the way up to the top of the mountains, so we could actually connect up with the Appalachian Trail, so we could hike the Appalachian Trail across to a ranger station to go in and talk to the rangers for a little while, and then we would hike our way back to the Blue Dot Trail and then come back down. And it sounds like it's not that far, but really it was pretty far. We'd have to go up the trail. It was probably a mile up the trail, and then we'd have to hike along this other trail over to the ranger station. So, you're looking at maybe a mile up and a couple of miles out, and then a couple of miles back and a mile down. A path, of course, not straight down, but a path coming down that would take you back down to the campsite. And I remember one time we're up there, we go up to this gigantic rock that's up there. It's bigger than probably the size of 2 or 3 cars put together. And it was tremendous. And it's right up on top of the mountain overlooking the trail that we just hiked up. And we used to go up on this, and we'd sit up on top of the rock, and you'd be above the trees, and you could look out and you could see the lake off in the distance where we camped. You could see where the monument was all the way on the other side. And this rock, well, you know what? We hike up to this rock, and back then, we used to, let me rephrase this. The name of this rock is called Broken Camera Rock. Does anybody know why it's called Broken Camera Rock, other than my kids? What happened is I set the camera up on the rock, and everybody was sitting on the other side of the rock, and it was actually sitting on the rock so that when we were sitting over on the other side, we could actually go and sit on the rock, and the camera would take a nice picture of the 4 of us sitting up on top of the rock. With, in the backdrop, you could see all the trees and the mountains and everything else. It's beautiful up there. And just as the shutter on the camera, they're like, well, you don't have cameras like this anymore, but it was fairly loud. You could hear like the of the camera lens click and close, and when the camera lens click, the camera fell off the rock and down the cliff, and that's how the rock got its name of Broken Camera Rock. So, but yeah, we used to do that. We used to, and even to this day, it's a pretty nice thing. I remember one time we were actually. I remember one time we were up there, and High Point Park closes at a certain time. It's probably like dusk when it closes, but when the park closes, of course, everybody has to leave. But if you're a camper, you're allowed to come back in. And they used to have all these ranger talks where the kids could actually go and the adults too, and they would sit around, and the rangers would actually tell old. Like, I don't know if they were Indian tales or folk tales or what they were, but it was all, silly things to keep the kids entertained. And basically what it was saying that, about, dogs and why dogs always smell the rear end of another dog. And it was like a whole big story that the guy acted out. And the other one they had was, how come a crow has such a very raspy type voice about going up to the sun, and I think these were old Indian type, tales that he was telling. But it's something that the kids learned, and I learned something myself with just about everything that we did up there. There used to be up at this High Point. When we first started going up there was an old mansion that used to be up in the High Point. It's not there any longer, but the mansion was actually was a very wealthy person's summer home at the time, and it was tremendous. And over the years, it was vacant, and nobody had lived in it, and it became pretty much run down to the point where they had to take it down. And now, if you go up there, there's nothing there anymore. The building is gone, but you can actually go and you can see the foundation of where the building used to be up there as well. So, but that was High Point, New Jersey, and that's where we used to do a lot of our camping and cooking and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that the kids used to like the best is that we would actually, the sun would go down, and now the fire is pretty much going the whole day. Everybody likes, every person, young person likes to have fire where you can actually throw wood into the fire to burn things and everything. But we used to have the campfire going, and we would actually make s'mores. It would be like graham crackers, piece of chocolate, and you take a marshmallow, and you have to get a stick, put the marshmallow on a stick, and you go out and you roast the the marshmallow over the fire, and you would actually make a s'mores with it. And up there it was pretty neat. But some of the problems we had up there was that, well, not problems. We had this one time, and this was not that I'm making fun of anybody, but the guy was a real good guy. But we had our campsite set up, say, on this one site over here, and this one guy comes in, and he's a like a hippie kind of guy, very nice guy, but he's like a hippie kind of guy. And he had long hair and everything, and he had his dog with him, and he was over there trying to set his tent up. And after about maybe, I'm going to say an hour or maybe 2 hours, he's over there trying to put the tent up, and as he's trying to set the tent up, everybody in my group, they go over and they said to the guy, we see you having trouble setting up your tent. Would you like us to help you set it up? And he says, no, man. He says, I got it. He says, I'm okay. He says, thank you for asking, but I can do it. And then, he goes over there and he's doing what he's doing, and we're doing what we're doing. And after about maybe another hour, now it's starting to get dark out. And anybody who's been camping knows that when the sun goes down up in the mountains, it gets dark very quick. Once that sun goes below the mountains, the dark really comes in very quickly. And at that point, he said, yeah, maybe you guys can give me a hand putting this tent back together. Now, as you know, in state parks, you're not supposed to have a couple things: no guns, no alcohol, no pets, no animals. And there's a reason why they do that. High Point has a very large bear population up there. When you go camping, first thing they tell you is that your cooler stays in your car. It never leaves your car. You never bring your cooler out of your car, not even if you're cooking. If you're going to cook, you have to bring your food down, cook whatever you're going to cook or whatever, and it goes back up in your car. And the reason they do that is they don't want the bears coming in to try to scavenge food from people, because they can be pretty intimidating. A bear that weighs 300, 400, 500 pounds coming into your campsite. So that's why they tell you to leave your cooler in there. And that's another reason why they tell you not to have any animals in there either, because they don't, an animal will chase a bear. Well, it was probably like 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's nice and quiet, and you don't hear anything, but you can hear the wildlife out there, and you can hear the animals coming through the campsite and stuff, but you're in a tent and you're inside and you don't think of anything about it, and you can hear stuff going on out there. And all of a sudden, this guy's dog is in the tent on the next campsite over. And all of a sudden, the dog just goes berserk, barking like crazy. And then maybe about 30 seconds later, you hear the tent, like the zipper of the tent opening up. Like you hear the zipper opens up and the dog goes out of the tent, and he goes running around, as we find out later on, he chases a bear up a tree. And we came out of the tent to see what was going on. And sure enough, there's a bear up this tree, and it was a mother bear. And behind it, there was either 2 or 3 baby cubs up that tree as well. And what happened is the rangers came, saw the guy had his dog there with him. And even though it was whatever time of the night it was, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, they made the guy pack up his stuff and leave, because the dog scared the bear, and the bear took off up the tree. And luckily nobody got hurt or anything, but the bear was up the tree. So needless to say, that morning we didn't have breakfast on the campfire there. We actually packed up and went to McDonald's and had McDonald's breakfast instead. I couldn't cook anything with the bears being up the tree so close to us, but that was interesting. I'll tell you another time we were up there too, and this time was a little bit scary. We're up in the camp, and I think it was it was my 3 children, myself, and my nephew, and we were sitting by the campfire. And you ever see on TV where they show people huddled around a campfire for safety, that it'll keep the animals away and nobody will ever come into around the campfire? And that's a bunch of bull, because we're sitting there by the campfire, and when it's dark, you don't see anything except right by the campfire where the light of the campfire is. And it's a fairly large fire. And I was sitting there with everybody sitting around me, and I heard something in the bushes over there. And I picked up my flashlight and I shined it into the bushes, and not even maybe 10 feet away from us, there was standing there a bear. It was probably in that 500 pounds, but it looked to me like it was a 500-pound bear. It was big, and or maybe I was just scared. I don't know, but it was pretty big. But I remember picking up my one daughter and holding my other daughter by the hand, and my son, I gave him the keys to the car, and we leave the campsite, and we back away from the picnic table, away from the fire, and this bear comes walking right in, puts his nose. Now he doesn't have to stand up on his hind legs to look on the table or anything. Puts his nose on the picnic table, puts his nose across the picnic table, realizes that there's no food or anything there, and he turns and looks right at me, which of course maybe he didn't, but to me it was like looking right at me, and he started walking towards us. And in High Point, you don't park your car right at your campsite. You park your car maybe up on the road, which is maybe, I'm going to say, I don't know, 100 yards maybe, and you have to go through the woods about 100 yards through a path about 3 feet wide that you have to go through to get up to your car. And I remember walking up that path, got into the car and everything, and what truck it was at that time, and I had a spotlight on the truck, and I remember turning the light on and looking in the woods, and you couldn't see where it was, and everybody was a little bit afraid and everything, so we decided we were not going to stay that night because that was a little bit too close. Well, the problem is I got stuff set up all over the place. I got the tents, I got the camping, the wood, I got the axes, I got the lanterns, I got everything all set up there. And, to pack that up at night, you really can't do that. So we decided, what we're going to do? We're going to pack it up. We'll come back. We're going to go home tonight, and then we'll come back tomorrow, and we'll pick up all our camping gear. And I remember, now my kids are inside the truck waiting for me and my nephew, and we were walking down this path. And as you're walking down the path, we were going down to the campsite to actually take the 5 gallons of water that we had and dump it onto the fire so we could put the fire out. And walk down to head down there. And as we're walking through there, I can hear, you can't see anything. I got my flashlight, and you know how dark it is in the woods. And I can hear in the woods, I can hear like the bear, the bear, like the grunting of a bear, like inside the woods, right? And I got my flashlight. I'm trying to look to see where the bear is, but the bear is black. The woods are black. You can't see anything. And all of a sudden, you can hear like the crunching of the leaves, and it sounded like the bear was charging us. And then I looked at my nephew and I said, "You know what? Frig this. We're out of here." We went back up the path and sat up in the car. And then the Rangers came in, and pull up to the thing, and I'm talking to the ranger and everything, and he opens up the back of his truck and he pulls out a shotgun. And I said to the guy, I said, "What do you do?" I said, you shoot the bears? He said, "No." He said, "What we do is we shoot them in the rear end with rubber bullets. And the rubber bullets is supposed to be a deterrent that the bear is supposed to associate pain with going through a campsite." And he says, "Hopefully this deters them from coming into anybody else's campsites." But we had known that this may have happened anyway, because when you check in at the ranger station, they specifically tell you everything has to be in your cooler, in your trunk of your car. So we knew in advance that there was going to be there could have been a problem with the bears coming through. And it's happened to us probably, I'm going to say 3, maybe 4 times where the bears came through. And most of the time they usually come through, you make a little bit of noise, and they run and they take off. But this bear was a little bit more, so they had to go in there and they had to teach him not to come to a campsite any longer. But they weren't able to, because by the time the ranger had gotten there, he was long gone. And, I don't know exactly where he went from there. All right, this and this and this. A couple of the things I want to see. Okay. All right. I think that was everything I wanted to talk about there. But that's even with my children too. We talk to them, and we'll talk about the days of camping. That they just love going up there, and my girls were very much afraid of bugs unless we went camping. If we were up camping, the bugs didn't bother them. And we used to have everything up there if it was cold out, because depending on the time. Thank you, Joe. All right, that sounds good. I'm going to give you a call. You're home. I'm going to give you a call a little later, okay, Joe? As soon as I get off here, I'm going to give you a call and we'll talk. I get distracted now. I was talking about. Okay. All right. What were we talking about? All right, I don't recall exactly, but I think it was something about the camping and stuff. But most of the time, we would go up there camping. And now I remember one time we were supposed to go up camping, and it was probably in the very early part of the season, and I remember it was supposed to be extremely cold. And I don't know if anybody has been camping, they know what this is all about. But when you're up and you're camping, there is no place you can warm up. When you're cold, and it's cold and rainy or damp or whatever, you really can't warm up. And even though you're in a tent, you set up your sleeping bag. You have your. We used to have it wasn't a sleeping bag on the floor. We used to actually have cots. You were above the. Not laying on the ground or on the air mattresses or anything like that. You were above the ground, so you weren't really wet or damp or cold, because that cold comes right through you. Even though you're in a sleeping bag, it's still very cold. And we actually went out and we bought a heater for inside the tent, because once everything gets damp inside the tent, it's virtually impossible to get everything to dry out. So we had a heater that we used to. I would have, if it got really cold at night, and I would turn it on, and it would warm up inside the tent, so that my children weren't cold, and they would stay fairly warm. But I remember we had this. I don't even know if they have them anymore, but they were a little tiny thing. It looked like about that big, and it was like you'd open it up, and you actually had a piece of like charcoal or something like that. You would actually light the end of the charcoal, put it back into this thing, clip it closed, slide it into its pouch, and it was a hand warmer it was. And it used to keep your hands warm, so that your hands wouldn't get cold. And what the kids used to do is they used to put it down in the sleeping bag, so that way down by their feet was always nice and warm, even though it would be, 45 or 50 degrees at night, which is pretty cold up in the woods. It would still stay fairly warm. And then if it got really cold, I would just click that heater on and turn the heater on, and it would heat the tent up. But then after sleeping at night, you get up in the morning, and what would happen is the tent had that moisture. And if your sleeping bag had touched up against the outside part of your sleeping bag, would get wet. And we used to set up the heater inside the tent and turn it on, and it would actually dry everything out for us. But we used to have a lot of stuff like that just to stay warm. We had lanterns to set up around. I even had one thing where it was actually, a lot of times there was bathrooms, but you had to walk through the woods to get to the bathrooms. And I used to take a light from the shop, and I would hang it up in the trees along the path, so that you could actually just click a switch on. It would be just like turning on a light in your house. It was connected up to a booster pack with a converter, and we used to run the light up the path, so that if anybody had to go up to the bathroom, you would just turn the switch on, and you'd be able to light your path up to get up to the bathroom. So we had all of that stuff. When we used to go camping, we used to have so much stuff. The whole back of the truck would be filled up with all that kind of stuff. So, all right, but that was it. So I just wanted to talk about vacations and all the different places, and all the different fun places. I remember one time we went state parks is what I wanted to talk about. State parks or national parks, you can't beat it. It's actually a really good thing. I remember one time we went to, I think it was Yellowstone, actually. We had gone out to Yellowstone and, just doing the whole tourist thing out there. And we actually had this one thing where you actually, it was, you signed up for it, and you got on a horse and you did a trail ride all the way out into Yellowstone, where it seemed like a long way, and you would ride the horses out to a certain area where they had a whole big thing set up out there, where all the cowboys would be around, cooking up their food for all of the people who just made that trail ride up there, and that was always a lot of fun as well. But state parks, national parks, you can't beat it. It's fairly inexpensive, and you can actually have a really good time. I just actually down in South Jersey, I just I knew where this place was. I had never gone there. I'd grown up in Jersey my whole life. I used to go down to the Point Pleasant or Seaside, and that would, that's pretty much as far as I went. But there's another place down the end of Seaside. There's a state park, and that state park is pretty neat. You can go out onto what is it? Island Beach State Park or something like that it's called, and you could actually see what it used to look like before they developed all of the beach areas to what they are today, to show you what the natural state was like, down there. So you drive down there, and it's 10 miles or whatever long. You'll have the ocean on the one side and the bay on the other side, and a very thin, narrow strip of land that you can get to the very end, so you can actually see the Barnegat Light down there as well. But that's a nice state park too, and I think you pay $5 or $10 for a carload of people to get into it. State parks, it's a good deal. So, all right, now I think this is going to be my last question, or last question I'm going to ask you about. You remember all the car questions we have? Well, this is the last one here, and this is the question: in what year did the double R for Rolls-Royce badge change from red to black? In what year did the double R Rolls-Royce badge change from red to black? What year? What year do you think they changed it? All right, I'm just going to go back here for 1 second. Lon says 1900. It's close. It's very close, but actually, I'm surprised. Chris says 1935. Chris, you're very close as well. Joe says 1913. Island Beach State Park, $5 for during the week, $10 weekend permit to drive. That's right. You have to buy an extra permit to drive onto the beach. You know what else they have down there too is they actually have that the air stations. When you drive onto the beach, you have to lower your tire pressure down so that you can actually drive on the sand without sinking down into it. All right, Lon says 1908. John says 1910. Only red and black. I know the roulette. Okay, Lon. Hey, good guess, Lon. But you know what? They're all wrong. Okay, in what year did the double R Rolls-Royce badge change from red to black? It was a little bit before my time. It was actually in Chris's 1937, real close. Lon wins. No, actually, Lon was wrong. It was actually in 1933. So good guess, Joe. 1918, but nope, 1933. All right, I think that's it for all of my. Here we got that was the 21st show or something, and these are all of the questions or the trivia questions that I had. So that's it. We're done with all the trivia things. But this is one thing down on the bottom here. It says, and this I'm going to read it. It says trivia. Ford, who made the first pickup truck? Oh, Ford, who made the first pickup truck, shipped them to the dealer in crates that the new owners had to assemble using the crates as the bed of the truck. The new owner had to go to the dealer to get them. Thus, they had to pick up the trucks. Oh, so that's how they come up with pickup trucks. How about that? And now you know the rest of the story. That's pretty neat. So they used to ship the Ford trucks to the dealership. You would have to go to the dealer, pick up the crate that actually had all the parts in it, and then you would have to assemble it and use the crate as the bed of the truck. And that's how they come up with the thing, pick up the truck. Yeah, that's pretty good. I wonder if that's true, but that's what they say. I remember back, a friend of mine had a 1960, 62 or 63, thinking it was a 63, had a 1963 Chevy, and he had it with the 409. He ordered it, I should say. Well, back then he says that they ordered the cars and used to order the car with a 409 You could order it with the, I think it was a 380, something like that. And his car was actually shipped to the dealership minus the engine, because the 409 was on the national back order and nobody could get it, and it wound up sitting at the dealership. They shipped it to the dealer minus the motor, and it sat in the dealership until the 409 actually came in. And then, once they got it in, of course, then they put it all together. So I wonder if that's true. It probably is. That's a trivia thing. That's how you had to pick up the truck and then put it together and use the crate that the truck came in as the bed of the truck. That's pretty good. There was no waste back then. You didn't throw the shipping crate away. You actually used the shipping crate. Okay, I think we're going to call it night tonight. We talked about the different camping things and different state parks and Uncle Milty's and Palisade Amusement Park. And probably a lot of you guys from Jersey remember this too. There used to be a real big thing. It was, actually it's making a real big comeback now, was Asbury Park. Asbury Park years ago, when I was young, Asbury Park was pretty run down and not the best place in the world. But if you go down there now, it's making a real big comeback. There's another place down there too, Keensburg. I haven't been there in probably 40 years, but that was like an amusement type place as well back in the day. All right, so I will let you know during the week if I'm going to be here. And I might be. I should be back on Sunday. I'm thinking I probably will be, but I'll let you know during the week if I'm going to be here on Sunday. So we'll talk during the week, and I'll let you know if I'm going to be here. But I got a couple of things going on. I don't know if I'm going to have it edited and stuff to put it up yet. So I'm going to say probably next Sunday. I'm going to say 99% sure next Sunday I will not be here on the show here. So it'll be the following Sunday. We'll come back and we'll do it. But I'm going to hopefully get some footage of some stuff that I'm going to put up, so you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll get a kick out of it. It's going to be fairly interesting, I hope. And that's it. I think we're going to call it a night. All right. So as always, I appreciate you guys stopping by and spending your Sunday evening here with me. I'm actually looking out my window right there, and I just see a rabbit running across the street over there. My dogs would love to see that rabbit. So, all right. But thanks again for spending your Sunday evening here with me. And if there's anything you guys want to talk about, or any subjects you want to talk about, you let me know. I didn't get to read through a lot of the comments going down on the side, but I see a lot of you guys talk back and forth to each other. So, all right, that's it. All right, enjoy the rest of the night. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.